Paul, thanks ever so much, and I think you can see the enthusiasm bubbles out of Paul, there's no doubt about it, and I just don't know how Heather can put up with him 48 hours of the day, you know. But when he came along and he said, would you talk about the car club, because first of all, give you a little bit of history, where we used to race and do all the silly things and that in motor cars, and that is where the township of Hewitt is, and you all know where that is up the top end of Gawler. But a little bit about early history and the reason that I've sort of based my talk on tonight, as well as slides, and Ian and Paul have sort of helped me set them up, and that is because Bev Waters, Beverly Phyllis, John's sister here, said, look Sambo, I've got a book, and it's the old photo album, and of course the lovely old photos, you know, that were taken with you had to take them into marchants and get them developed and all that sort of stuff. So I've worked my talk on about the early history of that from this particular book, and I've got slides, and what I've done, I've got something about 5,000 pictures, and what I've done is put them onto a USB stick, and it lasts for 55 minutes. So in other words, Paul kicks us out after an hour, so I thought if I do that, and then when the slides stop, I know I've got to get off. But also, if anybody wants a copy of that, a 16 gigabyte USB stick, and I'm very happy to put it on for you to keep as a bit of a memory bank. Now, what happened in Gawler 58 years ago was that it was a very different place, as Paul said. You know, we never had phones and laptops. I mean, an experience, when I went down to the V8 supercars the other day on the train when it was on, and I got in the train and I said, hello, how are you? No. Hello, how are you? No, nobody talked. And then they came and sat in front of me, and they had this phone in their hands, and I'm trying to talk to them to make conversation like old farts like me do. And no one talked. I thought, they must all be robots that go to town every day, you know. Back 58 years ago, we didn't do that. We talked to each other, and we had a really good time. And one of the things, I'll give you a bit of a picture of Gawler then, where the St John's ambulance is there. It never had the St John's Centre. It was olive trees and everything like that. And there's a lot of interesting things happened under those olive trees in parked cars and things like that that we're not allowed to talk about and so forth. But we had soapbox derbies there. But Ian Doy, you know, my neighbour, he had a soapbox that came down the hill and ended up in the water because Dead Man's Pass never had the driveway like it is now. And they're the sort of things we did. We enjoyed every bit of what we had in our town. And when you move up the street opposite the post office, there used to be a milk bar there called Callier's Milk Bar. Anybody remember that at all? Yeah. Oh, yes, oh, yes. With your hand up. And that was the hangout. That's where we all met. We all met and we had our chats and talked bullshit and all that sort of stuff. And it was really great. And what we found was that everybody had a different way of enjoying life. For instance, David and Des Jewis and his wonderful father Max Jewis lived up on East Terrace, and they had all these cars that we dreamed about, you know, all the V8s and that, and we owned Zephyrs and Austins and Austin A40s, if you remember. I don't know whether there's any still around now, and that sort of thing. Then there was another club, the Gawler Motorcycle Club, that was going, and they had Band and Beezers. I suppose everybody remembers what a Band and Beezer is, you know, they're a pretty slow motorbike today, I can tell you that. And then there was other groups that mucked around whatever way they can, but just had a lot of fun. And a lot of you would remember, if you go down Gawler South, there's some quarries on the side of the hill there, and you've probably seen them. Well, that's where all this so-called bluestone comes out of, that you're hearing that councils just refuse to do the road with bluestone, but that's where it all came out of those hills there. And because we lived just down the road, and there was a few of us down there that said, you know, why don't we do something in the quarry? And of course, Mum and Dad said, don't be stupid, you'll break your neck, you'll do this and that. But that was a challenge. Everybody likes a challenge when you're young. Well, we started up and we bought old motorbikes and everything. And is there anybody here that can remember the motorbikes in the quarry down there? Jeff Hillier, can you remember that? Yeah. And we rode around, and at that stage, circuses had Wall of Death. You know where they rode up around the Wall of Death? And we used to try and ride up around the side of the wall of these quarries. But we had a lot of pranks, I can tell you. And one particular person had a little Austin 7. You remember back the Austin 7? Anybody ever had one of them? And he decided that if we could go around this track and jump up in the air, that he would do it in his Austin 7. And we just couldn't believe it, because he had this thing airborne that many times. And I've got a few pictures on the slide showing that there. And I've never heard of him since, but his name is Tony Harriman. Did anybody ever remember Tony Harriman? He was a wild bugger, you know. So anyway, all of these different clubs were activating. But I'll just finish off the story on the quarry. It was interesting, one day we were sitting at the dinner table and Mum said, oh, did you see that in the bunyip? These young larrikins are riding motorbikes around and round and round in the quarry. They'll be killed sometime. And I looked across at my brother Darryl, because he was riding bikes too before he started managing John Farnham, and that sort of thing. And he said, oh, Mum, oh, no, they wouldn't get hurt. It's great. Anyway, about a month later, she found out that we were organising the motorbike rides there. So we got away with it for a little while. Anyway, so after all that, we decided, meeting at Cullier's Milk Bar and that sort of thing, that we'd sit and have a chat and a coffee, and said, what about if we start up a club, one club, and so forth? Yeah, good idea, no worries. And we talked to all the different groups as they were in those days, but we all talked and worked together. And anyway, one of the fellas in the Williston group, up in the Williston area, they had really nice cars, the Fryers and all those. And one of the lads, Trevor Fryer, he was a builder. You would probably, a number would know Trevor, and Barry and Dennis. And anyway, their mate, Ashley Pratt, was going out with this gorgeous lady up on Lindock Road. And anyway, we said, oh, we need a club rooms. If we're going to start a club, we need a club rooms. Anyway, Lorraine Hawkes, his father, she spoke to her father and said, Dad, what are you doing with the shed across the road there at 67 Lindock Road? And, oh, nothing there, I'm not using it now. Can we have it as a car club? Yeah, no worries. And Jack Hawkes, Mr. Jack Hawkes, who lived opposite, he said, rightio, you can all have it, no worries, until such time as we sell the land. And so we did. We moved in there, and then basically the story began, where somebody from each of the other small groups would be part of the Gawler Road Knights Club. So maybe, can you set that So basically, as I said too, it all starts from this book, and then when Paul punches it, not yet, and it'll go on from there, and it's pictures of the early days, some of the old photos. Some of the photos are a bit out of blur because Beverly gave us slides, and then the slide camera didn't work, so we took photos over photo to try and put them on a USB. But it gives you a bit of an idea of what Hewitt was to what it is today as a beautiful community part of the Light Council. So the first thing we had to do, we had our meetings and that in the club rooms, put signs up out the front, you know, and so forth. And then somebody said, what are we going to call it? And oh, well, all these different names came. Gawler Fun Wheels Club, Val Bouncers Club, and all these sort of things. And Ed Dorr said, the dragons. He loved the dragon side of it, think, because he was always dragging something behind his car. And anyway, he had a Morris Minor, by the way. And so we said, what do we do? So we had a meeting one night, and we spoke about what do we call this new club that we're going to put our hands on, the whole lot of us have a part of. And anyway, every names came out of, you know, silly names, good names and whatever. And I said, well, I read comics, and a lot of the comics from America, there's one in there that really clicks, and it was the Road Knights. I said, what about Gawler Road Knights? Well, it was quite funny, but there wasn't any council arguments like we have all the time. It was basically, yeah, that's a good idea. So straight away, that was adopted, and we said we'd move forward from that point in time. And it was absolutely great, the reunion of everybody, and we would be part of their groups and that sort, but we came under one banner called the Gawler Road Knights. So I'll continue talking while Paul flicks the thing. This is one of the dinners we had in 1967. And there's some of the people. John Palmount, I thought he might have been here tonight. He's up in Darwin now at the top right hand. Today I saw him and I said, that's not your wife with you. Who was that? He said, I can't remember. I rang him this afternoon. He said, I still can't remember. So maybe that happened. And there's John down the bottom.
Hang on, I'll go back. There we go.
Yeah, John Phillips is over there. Glennis and I, Len Warren and Kay, Graham Howard and Betty, is now Betty Lockie, not sure of the other one, and up the top up there is Beverly and Doug Bott, and the legend is in the middle, Rob Goy and Adrian up there, because Rob was a real legend of our club, the support and everything, and sadly we couldn't get a message to him, he's up there. So, yeah, so we'll just leave that and I'll continue on talking and so forth. These are all the different people that we're involved with. Now, from the time that we had that, we decided we had to get somewhere to muck around, you know, because the police officer at that particular time and so forth, Sergeant Alf Menz, does everybody remember Sergeant Alf Menz? One of the best coppers I've ever met in my life, there's no doubt about it. And he had constables like Hartwig and Meagle and all those. And we used to always work together. And even when we were naughty, you know, we weren't naughty very often, but when we were, you know, he gave us a clip behind the ears. I remember getting hit in the arse by him because I did a wheelie in the street. I mean, now they just do it every day, but he was the sort of person that connected, you know, with the community. And so he helped us as well. And a gentleman by the name of Mr. Stanley Butchers, years ago, they and Mr. Ian Sanders, you would probably know Ian, Ron Sanders' son, and they had this land where they had their stock on, sheep and cattle, and they'd slaughter them with the butchers and all that sort of stuff and so forth. So we said to him, look, can we use your land for various events and everything? He said, yeah, go for it, no worries. And he was down there, we took him for a ride in cars, scared the hell out of him and things like that. And that was where our playground was. And some of the things we did down there, OH&S never existed. Yeah, like, you know, a very dear old mate of mine, Peter Ryman, never had a crash helmet on, never wore a seatbelt. His sons are here tonight too, by the way, but they wear seatbelts and all that now. But these sort of things, you know, used to happen. And in all the time that we raced, we had events down there, we had motorbike events and that down there. These are the sort of cars we had with side valve V8 motors. And that one there on the left-hand side didn't even have a seat because they put a normal seat in between the bars, and that's what they did for screaming around. So there was a lot of very different types of vehicles, but we had such a lot of fun down there at that particular place. And that was for many years. We used that, and we saw many, many floods. We haven't seen floods since because we've got the Clayton's Dam out the road that's got a hole in it and that slows the water down. and so forth. But we used to have all of that area under flood, and we used to love riding the motorbikes through it. That's at the Gawler show. We had big displays and everything. And what really surprised Glennis and I, after all these years, that's my father. And it was just pure fluke that we looked at it there. Anyway, and then all of a sudden it came to the point where Mr. Alan Harris is here tonight, and he used to farm the land behind where we had our club rooms and so forth. But Mr. Jack Hawkes wanted to sell the place because it was, you know, a superannuation style thing for him. So we had to move out from that particular shed. And a real legend in the town who was well involved as ambulance driver, Ron Bird and Jack Hicks. You probably heard of those names back in those days. And they said, we reckon we know where we can get you a shed. And at the time, they were putting in all the power lines around the place, and it was owned by a company called Transfield. And Transfield did a lot of that sort of work in the area. But they had finished their program. And so anyway, Brian Anders and I'm trying to think who the other person was, they actually purchased that big shed where Williston Auto Body Repairs is now, you know, up in Williston there, and that became our club rooms. We were given to it to use, and that's when the club really grew, and we were very promoting, being able to work on cars because it had mechanical stuff in there to be able to be part of it. So that was our next home that we had. These are some of the pictures. As you can see, Mr. Kevin Evans down the bottom here, for anybody that knew Kevin and Bob Evans. Sadly, I went and seen them at Rosewood yesterday to see if I could bring them in here. But sadly, they're not very well, you know. But he was a real wild one. You can see the sideways there. Peter Hatcher up the top there. Airborne. He never wore out too many tyres because it was mainly in the air all the time. And what happened in some of the stuff that we've found out through the help of the current Gawler Road Knights, we found out the membership, and the first president, as the record that we've got, was Brian Hilps. Now Brian Hilps sadly has passed away too, and his mum was Gwen Hilps. Does that ring any bells with anybody? But anyway, and then myself, John Whitbread, Lenny Warren, Bob Hockey, who lives now at Gawler, John Palamount, and Rob Goy. Certainly Rob was involved with everything, and he was awarded life membership in 1973 of the Gawler Road Knights. Alan Harris, Lance Trestrail, Ricky O'Reilly, Rod Goble, and quite a number there, and I've got the whole records of that were sent to us about the early membership. The membership grew quite rapidly, and with very much positive help from the local paper, the Bunyip. The Barnett family were just really, really great. Anytime we had something on, we didn't get that much in the paper, we got that much, and that really helped us promote and get our events and so forth. So the name Gawler Road Knights was growing every which way around the place, and some of the things that we didn't only do racing and stupid things in motorbikes and cars, we went on social events. And we'll never forget one, that's Bev there, we had our own netball team, and that sort of stuff that anybody was in that with. Nobody was in the net. Glennis, you went in that, were you? That's Bev there, and she's now living down in Adelaide. She was unable to come tonight. One of her daughters has a health problem. She has to be with her. But the thing with it, we had social events, and one of the social events we had was we went to a station up near on the Broken Hill Road, and we used to get up there and with the owner of the station and have a ball, driving around, chasing kangaroos, and John Palamount and a few of the other guys had these three-wheelers. Did you ever see those little three-wheelers they brought out? And they were a wild thing. They tipped over pretty easy. And Errol Tobin, is Errol here tonight? but Errol had one, and he was pretty wild, I can tell you that. And they ended up putting bars on the back so that when they took off, they didn't go up and over and so forth. But we had so many good social events there. And again, we had one little mishap, not mishap, but we had to talk nicely to the police and that sort of stuff, because I decided that I could have my camper trailer and my motorbike trailer hooked together to go. I thought, well, nobody else has done it. I didn't know it was illegal. Anyway, everything went really well until we got the other side of Tarawi, and the Highway Patrol, or Peterborough coppers, pulled us over. I said, what's this? Who thought they could get away with that? Anyway, after a lot of talking, we didn't get prosecuted, but he said, all right, get on your road, but we didn't. We got somebody else to bring the motorbike trailer home and so forth. But it's funny, you know, you tried everything in the early days, and certainly 58 years ago, we did try everything. There's no doubt about that. We had a lot of film shows. We had St John's people talking to us about the safety, which was certainly needed. There's no doubt about it, because some of the things that we did on cars and motorbikes, especially some of the motorbike boys, the Hayden boys, they were just brilliant riders and did some wild bike riding and everything. And one particular one there, I think it's in there, is Malcolm Bird. Ron Bird's, that's airborne. And that's the sort of things that were going on all the time. That the cars didn't wear out too many tyres because they were in the air. Alan Mortimer, he's not here tonight, but Alan was also a real driver of the group and involved in everything, and he and I used to race in things called the demolition derbies, if anybody ever knows about that. It's a bit like driving down Murray Street at the moment. And basically, you get old cars, and the old cars, you smash them and bash them and everything until such time as they're written off and you may win a prize. Anyway, after about the third one that we went in, I said to Alan, you know, we didn't win a prize. We had a good car when we went down there, but now it's stuffed, it's all dented, smashed up and everything. And he said, and the Kimber Nathan, who was the promoter, said, well, maybe you better do something pretty spectacular, and then you might get some sort of award. And I thought, that sounded good. And my mum and dad didn't know that I was driving the car, because kids wouldn't do that today, would they? You know, but anyway, so we had this car, we had it down there and everything, and after a few smash and bash, it was an old, I think about 36 or 38 Chev sedan, and I'm thinking, oh, now it's starting to boil. Oh, bugger it. So I went flat out down around the side, pulled her on full lock and rolled it. Wow, I got a prize for that. I got prize money and everything. When I got out the car, I'm sitting on the top, yeah, you know. And who do you think I'm looking at? Mum and Dad. You wild bastard, you know. So yeah, so that's the sort of things we used to get up to. And so from then on, you know, bit by bit, we got involved with, as it showed there, netball. Bev and the girls and my sister, and all were involved in that. Brian Harrison, he used to own that car there, and that's up at the club rooms. And today, that's the club rooms there. And you can see the tone of all the cars. I've had a couple of people say, oh, that was my car. I don't know whether that was your car, Ian, was it, the one on the end? But basically, it was just a way to get together and have a lot of fun and stay off the street. But we still did do a bit on the street, because one of the things that we had fun with the other groups, we said, how about we have a game of chasey around Gawler? And, you know, I mean, you wouldn't do that today, would you, you know? But there's a lot of lanes, you know, all the little lanes, and you started off from one point and away you went. And I think this particular night, there was about 5 cars were in the chain, and we're going around. I was the lead car, and around I'm going in my Austin A40. You know, they don't go very fast. And here we go, in and out, around the place and everything, the whole lot. And all of a sudden, Jeff Hillier says, hey, Sambell, how many cars started off with us? Oh, there's only 5, but there's 6 there now, and the last one was the sergeant of police. Pulls up, oh my goodness, you boys, you know. He said, I'm going to tell your parents, and they'll give you a bashing, because you're allowed to give your kids a smack on the leg in those days, sort of thing. And we deserved every one that we got, I can tell you that. There's no doubt about that. And after we got moved on, a lot of the members that initially started, well, they basically got married. We were in business. Glennis and I owned the Amico service station, which is now the BP service station down the bottom of the street. And we had a family and all those sort of things that you do as you get a little bit older. But the club went on. The club went on, and certainly without any worries at all, it's been a success story. I said last night I went to the club meeting, and the president of that club, Toby Ryman, is sitting in the back there with his brother, and it was so interesting to hear about how things have changed. The cars they've got today, we were going to bring Sammy's car in and have it here on display to show you what they look like, and John Smith and Bernie Stack's cars. They're completely different to the cars because they're professional. And one of the things I noticed that came out last night, they were talking about how long you're allowed to have seatbelts in your car. Well, I hope they don't check my cars, you know, I mean, because all of these things are important today for safety and so forth. And these are the sort of race cars that they race today in the club, and they're very highly tuned and also, you know, very professionally operated. And the club at the present, or in the last few years, 10 odd years, have been operating in the Adelaide Hills, Tumby Bay, they go a long way away, Hawker, Tailem Bend, Port Pirie, Truro, Sedan, and at the present time they're looking for a new track. Now, when I say a new track, the hard part about it is that a lot of the scrub country, and a few may remember on the way out to Two Wells, there's it used to be called Hayden Sand Paddock, and we had motorbike events. John Day owns it now. We had motorbike events and all that out there all the time. Instead of doing it around the streets of Gawler or up in the hills or down in the reserves, they were able to go and use it there. And I've been looking around to try and get onto a property where they can use. But last night I found out the reason, because the way our world is changing, and that is that if a farmer, say like Mr. Alan Harris, says, okay guys, you can have a track on my place, it's illegal for him to be able to have somewhere for someone to drive on his property, and if the ground is upset or whatever, and it's all seen as called the EPA, and now the EPA is basically stopping so many big events around the whole country. And yeah, I sort of wondered last night, with all the professionalism that was in the room there at the car club meeting, as to just how long. That's Alan Mortimer. He never wore any tyres either. And that's coming up where the Church of Christ Church is, down at Hewitt at that time. Yeah, so what's going to happen, and if there's any land available, but sadly the rule book's all changed where you can't do what you want to do on your own land, sort of thing, you know, in that way. And that there is all the particulars. You can actually go into that and get the information update, and that's where I got a lot of stuff about the car club. But the president and the car club members are here tonight, and if you want to have a chat to them at all. A big event where I took a lot of the photos in there, I took it up at Waikerie, and Waikerie had permission to be able to run these events, and so the boys are still able to go to those areas there, and another place called Loveday up at Barmera. You might have heard of Loveday, where they have up there. So that's one of Alan Mortimer's demolition cars. Before and after, it was a nice little car then after, but he didn't roll this, he didn't get any money, you know. But So yeah, so that's a bit of a story about the early days and what we used to do, what we did to get together and form a united type club, and today the Gawler Road Knights are still going very, very well, and a club that anybody can be involved with, whether you've got a racing car or whether you haven't. Brian Bird, there's still time for you, Brian. I was interested in Brian talk last time about the different schools that he's been involved with and everything, and I was going to ask him, did anybody ever have a car club or a motorbike club in one of those, but obviously they didn't get time, they were getting educated.
We were all too poor, so
yeah, well, we all had Osney 40s and Vanguards, and indoor had a, you ever seen a ute that's got the gear stick on the right hand side? Has anybody had a car like that? I've never seen one, but Ian used to ride it, and it never used to drive it too slow, that's for sure. So, yeah, and these are all the ones in now up to 2011, and all the different names that I got off of that web. Sammy Daniels, everywhere along there, Sammy's in the back there, he does security setups if anybody's into your house. And the Randall boys from out at Williamstown, very popular family of racing, the Gosdens and Cousinses, and a lot of money gets spent on the cars, like just to develop an engine, you're talking $50,000 if you want a real good race engine. So that's down the sand pits as well, down the bottom there. Before, at the moment there's probably a house there, in that area there. But it used to be great fun when the floods came down, because all these areas would be full of water, and you'd come along, you'd go through, I think that's Peter Hatcher actually. Anybody remember Peter Hatcher? And, but they're the sort of cars that we had and used at that particular time. Now, these were any questions at this time? Jeez, everybody's done it.
How old were you when you started?
Well, I was married to my dear wife for 12 months, and she gave me permission to do it.
No, you weren't.
I wasn't married then.
Well, wasn't married, it wasn't given permission.
No, we had the service station.
No, it was before that.
Oh, Brian Harrison had it. Oh, sorry, gee. Maybe mine's going. Yeah.
Have you got photos of the petrol station on you?
67.
No, not really. They're in the little flyer here.
Oh.
Yeah. But it was the same service station now. That was one of the Gawler shows where we had all the displays and things like that. And everybody wanted to see these old cars. You know, it was a very popular event that we had being involved. The Gawler Primary School across there. That's one of Alan Mortimer's car, and we think that's Glennis's mum and dad there too. I don't know whether they were thinking about buying a car or not, sort of thing. The motorbikes were mainly really old cars. This is what happens when a bit of water gets in the road. And I've sort of taken these off of the slides that Bev gave me, but the slides weren't very good. I just took a photo of them and put them onto the USB. But that's probably hitting it. That's Alan Mortimer there. He had a little, what would that be called? A little Ford.
It's a prefect.
Prefect. Probably worth a lot of money now.
I had one of those.
Did you? And that's Hewitt, by the way. So you know what the houses look like now? Well, that's how it used to be. Yeah. And there's some of the cars we used to get there. But have a lot of fun. Rob Goy had an old tractor, and he made a bit of a track, but no one ever kept to the track. They were always going too fast, and I'm not sure who that one is. Very hard to pick the face up, but you can see the car. That one's got a helmet on, so he must have got an OH&S licence. And that's Rob and Adrian. Rob, fantastic bloke. Yeah. John Palmer, he doesn't know who that girl is though. I must check on it. Do you know, Jeffrey, do you know who that was? You know? Eh? Oh, look how gorgeous that woman is there, eh? Len Warren, his father used to be the milky, used to run around the town delivering milk bottles and that with a horse and cart. Does anybody know Len, Mr. Warren? Years ago, yeah. There's Johnny over here. Who's that chickie babe?
Julie Roberts.
Oh,
I don't know who it is now.
right. I like that.
Heather Martin.
Heather Bain, yeah, Ivan Bain's wife. Yeah, that's not Ivan. Dougie and
Sister Bev.
Bev. Yeah. Craig Burns. I don't know who the other lad is.
These are all road nights?
Yeah. This was a party. We used to get together every now and then, and Vic Tromick and Des, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, love the ties of that era too.
Yeah,
They all,
yeah.
all
Oh, had to
checked
wear
up.
ties, yeah. Maureen O'Donoghue, Maureen Fisher. Yeah.
The legendary rabbit ears. Who's doing them?
Who's that, John?
Steph, I think the surname came from, was it Peter Rudloff's mate?
Peter Rudloff?
Peter Rudloff.
Oh, yeah.
That's Steph.
He was a footballer, wasn't he? But it's so good to look. There's Dean Harrison and Leonie Reid.
Oh, lovely.
Leonie Reid and Dean Hilton. Yeah. What's that, Glennis? Yeah, Wasley. Yeah. There's Peter Ryan. That's his sons back to back there. Yeah. Bruce Heidenreich. Sadly, he's gone to heaven.
That's Peter Rudloff.
That's Peter too. Oh yeah. He's a footballer, wasn't he?
He
Oh, I've heard that name. Kay Johnson, that's John's wife. Yeah. Who's that?
Jenny Hatcher.
Whose album are these all from?
Well, these are from the one that Bev gave me.
Bev.
Yeah.
Bev Waters, is it? Was
Yeah,
it?
Bev Waters.
Yep.
See, that was the only thing I was able to get hold of because, and all I did was photocop, took a picture of them, put them on the screen, and that sort of stuff, you know. But,
Is Bev still involved with the road nights?
Bev, yeah. But Bev races cars because when Roger died, he had a beautiful MG V8, and she's going to be in the big motor race coming up soon. What's the big one in Adelaide? You know, the rally. Huh?
That's like 500.
Yeah. She's going to be in that.
Who's that?
Oh, somebody.
Is that in your Amico suit?
No, not be tie on though.
Nice hair.
Some of the motorbikes that they used to race down there, the Hayden boys, without a doubt, are legendary. Philip passed away, but Trevor and Graham, they're all still going and still riding in motorbike rallies and everything. And this is what they do, they don't wear their ties out either. But over time I've been sort of going to sporting events and things like that, and I just love taking photos of people that get into action and enjoy life to its fullest. And vintage cars, there's always plenty of them. There's going to be a big show next Sunday at the Gawler Railway Station that Tom Nowick has organised. At the moment, Tom Nowick is trying to break the land speed record at Lake Gardner. You've heard of Lake Gardner? Well, that's on at the present moment over there, and Tom's over there with a team of people from Gawler, and hopefully he'll, break the record and not break his neck, that's for sure. But,
Is that the one you rolled?
hey?
Is that the one you rolled and refixed?
No, I didn't roll that one. That's too good. Yeah, but that one there is there's two Mustangs there. That's Glennis and my car and an aeroplane. The next one. That's the Mustangs. They're both Mustangs.
Which one's quicker?
Glennis is there. I'm not allowed to say. Yeah, that particular car. My son Greg, who owns Gawler Body Works, he bought that through a friend, and it came from Hollywood, America. And it was a lady's shopping trolley, a shopping car. Some of the old motorbikes that were used in those early days are quite amazing. You know, when you look at them, you know, they're no mudguards or nothing, and they were just used for riding around. And it's interesting when you go to Salem and you see all these particular things there. That's a band of bees, like Errol Tobert's got. He's got a fully restored one that he doesn't ride that much, but they're a beautiful old putt-putt. You used to see him putting around Gawler all the time. And this is just some of the times. Anybody got any other questions? Oh, do you? Yeah.
Yeah, Brian. You told me, you keep talking about Hewitt.
Yeah.
Well, I always grew up, it was redbacks. You always go to redbacks and watch the sand pits, races and stuff. So we was always referred to as redbacks.
Redbacks, yeah,
And you
yeah.
keep saying Hewitt.
Yeah,
Nowadays,
no, that's right. I think most of them call it the sand pits, but
It's always
it
redbacks.
would be redbacks.
Yeah.
That's right. That was the area. Yeah,
That's what we
yeah,
used to call them those days, we'd go out there and watch
yeah,
the sand racing and that sort of stuff.
yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Used to be Austin Reed sand pit.
Yep.
Sam, can you talk to the mayor and see if we can get that back?
Well, I've just heard that Tony Piccolo doesn't own Gawler anymore. He's looking after that. So maybe go and ask Tony if you can pronounce the name of the area. Nudadandalala or something. Oh. Well, that was pretty good. I'm on the camera. Yeah.
Just to keep you up to date, you were having a bit of a play in the quarry. Today, they get on top of the Phoenix Plaza and away they go until the coppers turn up.
Yeah.
Quite regularly.
Yeah, no, I've heard of that, yeah. Because at the Phoenix Plaza, it's quite interesting. I've always been argued about the fact that when they reinstalled all that, when John Chamberlain and his family bought all that and restored it all, and it was made into, what's their target, is it, or something, and so forth. But I just can't understand the car park up the top there. No one knows it's there. 225 car parks and 6 disabled car parks and a lift to take you down the bottom. No one parks there. And it's so easy. Only because people don't want to walk anywhere, you know, and that's the hard part. Yeah, yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. Adventure before dementia. Robert Laidlaw, you see that? Living the dream, are you, Rob? I know Paul is. And the other week I went down to Gilman with Ronnie Myler, the old mate back there, and they had the Australian Sidecar Championships. And these are the sort of cars they ride. If anybody been to Gilman or anybody interested in motorbikes at all, and sadly, while Ronnie and I were sitting there, they came round the corner, you might have seen it on television, and this fella fell off, and then the bike behind hit him. Luckily they're all right, but it looked so terrible when it happened, there's no doubt about it, you know. But the bikes today, they're 1200cc, and somebody sits on that sidecar with that wheel spinning around between their legs. Michael, how would that be? But I've always liked taking photos of classic vehicles and motorbikes and things like that, and I've got thousands of them, and Gladys wants me to get rid of them, but I can't get rid of them.
Were there any sidecars ridden around the Road Knights track at Hewitt?
Yeah, well, when I was riding reliability trials, 24s and things like that I was involved with, Errol Tobert and I decided we'd like to get a sidecar, and it was great. But none of us had had any experience, and where you live out there's a lot of windy roads. And anyway, I said to her, how about we go out where Barney's Road is and we try it out. We've got to get used to how you've got to lay out when you go around the corner and lay this way when you come around the other corner and everything. But Errol led the other way, and we tipped upside down, and we're laying underneath the motorbike, laughing our head off. And I said, if a car comes over the top of the hill, we're dead, you know. So we didn't really go and troll, we sold it. But I wanted to give it a try to just see what it's like. You know, I love giving things a try, you know, in that way.
Is that Sylvie Racing? Their local name as well, aren't
Sylvie's
they?
there, Gawler people.
And that's their
The
kit
Sylvies,
there?
yeah, they're still racing. But, yeah.
Oh, Vincent. Oh,
Yeah.
where was this
You
taken?
like that one? You're a motorbike man, aren't you?
Oh,
Yeah. Any other questions? Yep, Robbie. Oh, I knew you had one.
Yeah, Brian, did you get to the, when Core Apex done the mud sprints down at Hewitt?
Yep, that was done down there. Being a proud member of the life member of the Gawler Apex Club, everything from the Road Knights started to move into other clubs, like the Rotary Club, fantastic club, and passionate man like Brian Burt can tell you the great times that the Rotary have, and the Apex had, and Robbie's dad. And we decided to have a thing called the mud sprints, and they were held down there because Hewitt had never had houses, but plenty of water. Every time floods come down, these big pools of water were there. And look, I'd love to see some photos. There would have to be photos somewhere.
We've got some.
But,
We've got a few.
yeah, but some of the things that you guys didn't know as hot rods and mud sprints, they were unbelievable, especially Bernie Stack. I remember Bernie Stack burying one in the floods, you know, sort of thing. But, yeah. Yep, any other questions? Yep. Oh, no! Yes, dear.
Your time's up.
Oh! See what I mean? 58 years of marriage.
Brian, how many members did you have when you first began the Road Knights?
Initially there was a couple from each of the groups around, and I had in my notes that I had there 58 people. So we had 58 people from the start, and the club rooms up there were full of people, you know, and then it just grew from there. And when we moved up to Williston, up to Ronnie Bird's Williston Auto Body Repairs, I think at one stage it was well over 200. And then a new era of persons came in that were involved in racing, like Toby and the team are doing now. And so that was a bit different to what we had it, where we had guest speakers and, you know, we went on various rallies and drives and treasure hunts and things like that. Glennis and I went on a treasure hunt ride with John Palamat one night, and she still reminds me of it because it was the most hairiest driving, John Palamat, and out around Concordia, out through that area there. But we used to do things like that, you know, in the latter years, and then gradually the new breed of which is successful today came into the system, sort of thing, you know. But cars like this are now big business, and as I say, next Sunday over at Gawler Railway Station between 7 in the morning till 9:30. Last month there was 246 cars worth about $3.5 million parked in the car park over there. So if you want to see some really good cars, and Brian, you might be able to buy one. Yeah, the one over there.
Brian wants that one.
Well, how many in the Gawler Road Knights now? What's the...
Toby?
The last few years it's probably 60 to 70.
It's just the start of the season at the moment.
And where's the home turf now? Where do you do your home race?
We're currently going to have a track.
Murray Street.
Our club meetings are at Prince
First Wednesday of every month.
Yeah.
Current track is Cumbie Bay.
Where, sorry?
Tubby Bay.
Cumbie Bay.
Tubby Bay, yeah.
Geez, that's a short drive.
Yeah. The other week I was at the Speedway at Murray Bridge, and a fella came up to me and he said, "I hear you're going to give them talk about the Road Knights." He said, "The Road Knights are now using the old Chrysler test track down at Tarlem Bend, you know where the bend is, and they're using that. But the boys were telling me last night, it's all limestone country, and it destroys tyres, and they're $250 each. You know, it's a bit hard when you go to race and you're doing a $250 tyre in on a race event. It doesn't become fun anymore, you know. So sadly, they've got to look for somewhere sand or a soft dirt and so forth like that.
Back in the old days, Brian, they held a couple of short course meetings up there. at
You what?
Sambell. Can't you hear?
No, I'm deaf.
Hear my phone. Back in the old days, they used to use tail and bend for a short course.
Yeah, that's
We had
right.
a couple of sprints up there.
Yeah.
back
But
40 years ago.
now all the big tracks down there, and
Yeah,
they've
now
just built
that's
the
right,
drag
he's
track.
He's killed it all now.
Yeah, yeah. And they also own Mallala too. Tarlin Bend. Yeah. Yeah, so that nobody else got any questions? Oh, yeah.
Just want to go back to about 64, 65,
Yep.
before the Gawler Road Knights. We had a car club at Gawler who operated out of the coffee shop opposite the picture theatre, you know the one,
Yeah.
just up from your garage.
Yeah.
But it was nothing like that, but we used to do Sundays with a navigator, driver and a navigator, and we used to fill out different sightings.
That's right. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
But I always wondered if that was a precursor to the Gawler Road Knights. We were nothing like what you do there.
No, I think it maybe could have been, because what happened was that the different groups would come along to the Road Knights and say, can we be a member of your club? And so people were joining up like that. I remember when the club grew, when we were up at Wilson up there, there was a lot of clubs that came in and, like I say, just did. I remember going on a couple of those, I reckon, out around the reservoirs, and you had to go first turn to the right and then through the gate.
Yeah, Highway 1 or...
Yeah,
you know,
that's right. Yeah, no, they were good fun.
Yeah,
It's just
take my
something to
little
do.
prefect up.
Yeah, for sure.
Half
That
the time
one
it didn't make it.
over the top of the dummy. Yeah, but yeah, no, that was good old fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, Sammy. Oh,
The Gawler Road Knights is one club in an association of 6 clubs, and the last few years we had our membership was right up there, and volume-wise, our club's got the most members, and the most in higher positions like vice president, president. Behind us is last year's outright driver of the year in the whole series, so which is Toby, and yeah, so it's bigger than you sort of think. You know, you've got to get away from that. It's like big fat wheels and a couple of hundred horsepower and all that. It's a couple of $100,000 dollars will buy you an average car.
yes, that's it. It's a lot of money, and certainly, I know I've been with Ron a couple of times up to see Waikerie, and the boys were telling me last night they've got a brand new track which is even better for spectators. So put it in the diary when you hear about it, or like everybody says now, you got to look at it on the Facebook, don't you, sort of thing. But to pick up when the events are on and so forth. But the other thing that's changed also to do with clubs' activity, which is a bit hard, that if the Road Knights have an event now and that they can't charge for people to come in, because you come into a different category of insurance and things like that. And I know recently when I was over in to a big sprint car event over at Warrnambool, and that I went out to an event, and when I got to the gate there was thousands of people there and all that sort of stuff, and I came up to the lady on the gate and I said, how much? She said, no, it's free. We can't charge you anymore. So it's hard to know how clubs are going to survive into the future if that's the way it's going to be. You know, it's something to do with insurance, and you know, there might be a legal person in the room that knows why it is, but it's getting a bit hard. You know, there's no doubt about it.
What's the future look like for the Gawler Road Knights, as in for the...
Well, you know, last night I'm going to really try everything I can to see if I can get something to help them. But it all comes down to the eye in the sky, so that if there's a track on Mr. Alan Harris's place up at Stockport, and that the eye in the sky sees it and says to Alan, well, what are you doing there? Now, the only way you get away with it is put the track in the middle of one of his beautiful wheat crops, you know, in and out and in and out and around and everything. And then when they ask what it's doing there, you say, oh, that's for the sheep. So they can walk around the path and get something to eat. I mean, that's the only story I can think to tell them. It's different. These are the sort of cars today.
They're just cutting a
Yeah,
fibre.
probably.
Brian, you're saying there's a lot of regulations against it, but there was another meeting over at Brentwood on the dirt circuit the other day. Now, do you guys know about that at all?
No.
The dirt circuit at Brentwood on York Peninsula?
No.
And that's affiliated with a dirt circuit somewhere up around Port Pirie as well. There's two of them.
Do you know about that, Toby?
Yeah, they're only normally 10-acre land. We need a minimum of 400 to run a short. So a lot of them dirt circuits and motorbike stuff, two sort of big cars we've got.
Right.
A lot of our races are 100 k's per lap.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
Do they,
Yes, and these are the sort of cars today, if you've got one of them locked in the shed, just put a roll bar in it and so forth. Get one there to Heather.
what about one of them?
Yeah, that's a Range Rover. He's from Blinman. They travel from all over the area. It's quite amazing how they go to these different events. That was taken up at Waikerie. And that one there, I think he survived. I didn't get the next picture. But that, probably Sammy that was. Was it Sammy?
Yeah.
Was that you?
No,
Is that you?
no.
As you can see, the latest club don't muck around because one of those is Dr. John Smith, you know, the wonderful doctor in Gawler. One of those cars, and he's just built a brand new car for Bernie Stack, who's hopefully going to race it at the Fink Desert Rally, which is up at Alice Springs. There's Sammy, that's you?
Yeah. At work. Alrighty. Yeah. In younger days.
Is it hard to get sponsorship?
Hard to get sponsorship, Toad?
No, that hasn't been a real problem. Pretty good on that.
Yeah. But the cars now, what would they be worth, some of these cars? 100,000?
When you're looking at a gearbox, it's $60,000 for a gearbox.
Yeah.
But there is still the cheaper options, like normally the local club stuff's all fairly cheap to do, 10 grand. Yeah.
That's
As
right.
much as you want to spend.
All right, Paul, you can lock her off whenever you want to.
How many more have you got on here?
Oh, I don't know. That's Sammy back there. You want to sign an autograph, Sammy?
Yeah, right at the door.
I got your ad on there.
So when's the next meeting? We can go and watch the Road Knights in action at Tumby
When's your
Bay.
next racing meeting?
That has had breeding problems. So that's been cancelled this year.
Yeah.
So next is Perilla, isn't it?
There's Wally. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So anyway, thanks very much, everybody. I hope I gave you a little bit of insight of when it all began down the line. We've had a lot of fun, and we're all still, well, most are still alive, and that sort of thing. We did things that, I don't know how we got away with a lot of them. The worst rollover I had was 5 times in an old Chev, and that sort of stuff. And if any of you know the old Chev cars with the canvas hood, and the batteries are under the seat. Has anybody ever had, I don't know how she put her hand up. When the car was rolling over, the battery came off, and when it stopped rolling over, the battery was sitting on my belly, and I never even got a scratch, so I was bloody lucky. Yes, dear, what's wrong? He said 8:30, it's 8:30 now. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Brian, for that. That was very
very insightful, very good. Good, lovely history. Now, on behalf of the Gawler history team, we've got a little gift for you, which is just a little bit. You and Bev had a little snack, but sorry, Glennis. I'm thinking I'm looking at the old photos. Thank you very much, and once again we thank Brian for giving us the.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.